You got Bomb Burst, and you got Skull Grin. Where is that little midget demon? You know, scissor-wielding demon's gonna sneak up on me. I'm a lizard. We don't get snuck up on. Hello everybody, Sparkster1701 here. It's week 2 of Pretender Month, and we're going to take a look at probably one of the harder ones to find in the Generation 1 line. This time around, we're taking a look at the Decepticon Terror Trooper, Iguanus. Now, like Splashdown from last week, Iguanus was released in the latter part of 1988, and he would only be available through the rest of that year and barely into 1989. He would be discontinued, and we would not get a replacement for him. Now, of course, Iguanus, as I said earlier, is one of the harder ones to acquire of the G1 line. And it's hard to really tell as to why he's so difficult to find, but we'll kind of throw out a few ideas as the video goes on. Of course, one idea is probably the fact that he doesn't have a whole lot of loose pieces. As you can see, all the weaponry is attached to the robot instead of anything being on the Pretender shell. So aside from the belt, the shell's got nothing to do but stand here and look good. That is, if you're if you think lizards look good, or reptiles, or whatever in the world the shell's supposed to be. And we won't worry about that. Let's get him out of the way for the moment, and we'll take a look at Iguanus himself. Straighten your blades out. And of course, looking at him, he doesn't really stand out that much in the terms of a Pretender Transformer. He looks pretty much just like every other one. Very skinny robot. Not much else to look at. But let's take a look at his articulation. This time around, though, his head does not move. The arms do rotate. We rotate that out, and you can see the arms do rotate all the way around, like so. He does have a joint here at the hips, so he can bring his legs up about so far. There appears to be a joint at the knees, but it really doesn't do much. And then there's a joint at his ankles, so you can at least do a few stylized kicks if necessary. Yeah. Slightly less articulation than last week's video, but at least it's something. Now let's transform Iguanus and take a look at his rather interesting alternate mode. We start off, well, of course, we remove his weapons. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. There we go. Must put that in too tightly. We start by putting his arms straight up in an I surrender pose. We'll go down here and fold down his feet like so. And then next we're going to turn him around, and then this piece here behind his head gets rotated so that the hole is up at the top of his head. Then we're going to take the arms right here at his shoulders and we fold them back to cradle alongside. Then we fold his legs completely underneath him, like so. Then next, to complete the look, we're going to take this set of blades here. I'm going to put it so the post is closer to the one wheel, and insert it down in here, like so. And of course, for added effect, we'll connect the large post of the gun into the back. And here you have, for his alternate mode, a motorcycle. Now, of course, it doesn't look the best, per se, but let's consider the other three Pretenders that were released that were ground-based vehicles. Groundbreaker and Landmine both became stylized cars, and his partner Skullgrin became a tank. So, having Iguanus here as a motorcycle is rather unique. I mean, yes, granted, it does require an extra accessory to attach on there to make it work. A common problem that would be seen on the Pretender vehicles as well. But in this case, this works. This works for him, I think. I think it works great for him. Especially when you consider the fact it also gives us something different than what we were always getting. Especially in the Pretender line, there was not a lot of imagination on their alternate modes. So when you have a lack of imagination on that, you'll take anything that certainly stands out. Now, I mean, of course, he doesn't have rotating wheels on there, but with the way the base is designed, you've got this nice little bump here in the middle. That keeps him upright. That helps keep him upright, as a lot of motorcycle toys like that had the tendency to fall over to the side because they really weren't all that balanced. Seeing him stay like that and stay balanced, that's pretty good. And of course, since this is a smooth surface, he does scoop pretty well on the table. He tends to shift over to the side a little bit, like gravity's catching up with him, but it also makes it look like that he's doing a simulated turn when he does that, and that's not bad. That kind of works, actually. I kind of like that. That does work. Now, let's get him into his shell. Again, basically, it's pretty simple. Fold his arms to the backside, and fold his feet down. And grab the front part of the shell here. We'll just drop him in there, like so. Line up the back end and try that again. His arms want to get in the way, so we'll drop him onto the back side of the shell. Line the front end up. And there he goes. Now he's connected. And you can take the belt and kind of clamp it on the holes on the front, posts on the front of the shell. Belt's kind of pointless on Iguanus because it doesn't hold the shell together, so kind of a pointless accessory. But now we can fully deck him out since the robot's inside. Put the gun in that hand and can attach the wheels into the other hand, and then he's got some sort of buzzsawed melee weapon of sorts. Yeah, it does look kind of stupid from that angle, but otherwise, it's not bad. I mean, there's certainly worse Pretender shells out there, but this isn't too bad. It doesn't come off all that bad. The thing you gotta watch out a lot for is the wear and tear on all this gold paint. As you can see, like right here on the kneecap, I don't know how well it's showing on the camera, but there is some scratches there on the paint. That's the one thing you'd have to really watch for on loose samples of Iguanus. Check how well the gold paint is here on the shell. And of course, like all the other regular Pretenders, the articulation is only in the arm. We can rotate his arm at the shoulder. But he does have the added bonus. You can rotate his tail. I don't really see a lot of people doing that, but it's there, folks. Taking a look here at the loose parts, as you can see, Iguanus only has 5 total pieces. Start, of course, with the rear portion of the shell. Of course, it has the least amount of the gold paint, just these bars here on the back of his knees. Up here, you got something that kind of resembles armor along the sides of his body. I like the lizard fins here on the side. That's interesting little detail here. Doesn't really do much. It doesn't really serve much purpose, but I like it. And we got the front of the shell. Ugly as it is, this is the thing you'd have to check the most on the gold paint, because it does easily get damaged. Consider myself fortunate that this one doesn't have a whole lot of it damaged, but there is some of it that is damaged. It shows that the purple here is the base color that this was molded in. Then we move on to his gun. The instructions call this a hurricane blaster. So I guess it's implying it's an air gun of sorts. Of course, when it's held in this way, when it's held like this, it's suitable for the shell or on the back of the motorcycle. Turn it over like that, and the robot can hold it. So, kind of ingenious that they made it so that the robot and the shell can share the gun. One less accessory to lose. And of course, we have this piece, which the instructions describe as wheels/blades. So these serve as the wheels to the motorcycle. And in the other modes, it's basically a bladed weapon. It's just a large hunk of plastic, although it is hollow, so the protrusions here sticking up with the post are on thinner plastic. So you'd have to watch for breakage, although this is pretty sturdy plastic. I don't think too many of them would break, but you do want to keep an eye on that. And then lastly, you have his belt, which kind of carries on the lizard motif here on the belt buckle. Although from some angles, I almost think it looks like the face of General Grievous. And that's his loose parts. Moving right along now, let's take a look at his instructions. And I've got a bonus on these instructions. This is the Canadian issued instructions. So on the first page here, it's got him in the shell, and it's listed in English, but on the second page, where it shows the robot, it's in French. And of course, all the pieces, there's so few, they obviously have to spread them out to cover both pages. Down here, fully get the robot assembled. And then how to transform him into the motorcycle. And then, of course, how to get him inside the shell. Of course, they only show him holding one weapon at a time. You can have the shell hold both. And then how to put the stickers on the robot. Reminders to collect your robot points and read your tech specs. But just like with last week's, we have a bonus, and it's a slightly better bonus than last week's, because we have the box. And of course, this is also the Canadian box. This whole toy was bought this way. Box, instructions, toy, and as an added bonus, the inner packaging. So they got a pocket here where the robot would be inserted. Right here is where the shell would be, so you'd see them clearly through the window in that box. And then right here, this little tray off to the side, that would be where all the accessories would be. So, a nice rare find. Let's get it out of the way here and let's take a look at the box. See, we got a decent picture of all three modes. Of course, up top we got the abridged version of how to transform him. And the side art just basically shows all three modes all together. Of course, they also omit having the wheels attached to the robot on there, whereas they're clearly seen here on the drawing of the robot. And down here at the bottom, same thing again. At least this time the includes list is correct, unlike the last one. And on the back side, 1988 mural, exactly the same as we saw it last week. And down here we got the barcode. He's worth 2 robot points. You got a longer tech spec since it's the Canadian version, so over here is in English, over here is in French. We're just going to not pay attention to this side because I don't speak French. Or what little I do, I am pronouncing it very badly. But as further proof, this is the Canadian box. Got down here at the bottom, Hasbro Canada from Quebec. Anyway, it's all done in, the picture here is all done in purple to show he's a Decepticon, even lists him as a Decepticon, and features the same picture that's on the front of the box. It gives his name as Iguanus, and it lists his function as Terror Trooper. Now, Terror Trooper obviously is a soldier that's specialized in causing fear and chaos. So it's an interesting new function for a Transformer. It lists his motto is, "Sow the seeds of fear and victory is yours." Almost comes off like the Batman villain, the Scarecrow. Maybe they did right for Injustice 2 and had Freddy Krueger voice him. Who wouldn't want to see that? Freddy Krueger voice a Transformer. Maybe it'll happen after Bumblebee. A hideous, slithering monster, so in love with his loathsome lizard-like outer shell that he rarely removes it. Shares misguided camaraderie with all reptiles. Ick. Equipped with super robotic strength. Able to crush cars with his reptilian claws. Hypno beams in eyes penetrate enemy cerebral circuits and override primary programming directives. Armed with Hurricane Air Blaster that shoots concussive blasts of pressurized air. Wheels in cycle mode equipped with spinning blades that tear through enemy armor. Built-in anti-gyrostators able to disrupt equilibrium of enemy robots. He's quite well armed. Now, at any rate, we get the decoder out and lay it here over the grid. And it lists his strength as 8, his intelligence is 6, his speed is 4, his endurance is 9, his rank is 7. Yes, rank is 7, his courage is 9, his firepower is 7, and his skill is 8. So, aside from his slow speed, Iguanus is a very powerful Decepticon warrior. And apparently doesn't like to stand up very well. Get back up there. Now we get down to my thoughts. What do I think of Iguanus? Well, as I stated earlier, Iguanus is one of the harder Transformers to find in the Pretenders line. I, for a long time, was trying to build one up piecemeal, and I could only find one particular piece constantly available. This, the backside of the shell. So I ended up eventually breaking down and buying this Canadian one complete, just to get him in my collection. Part of why I think he's so popular is the fact that he doesn't have a whole lot of pieces, so that makes him an easy grab if you can manage to find him totally complete. But also what probably makes him popular is his alternate mode. I mean, the motorcycle mode isn't exactly the best looking mode out there for him, but it certainly is unique and something of a better use of all the pieces that came with the toy. So this one is one of the more better engineered toys out there for the Pretenders line. At least in my mind, and judging by how difficult he is to find, I would say that a lot of other collectors also feel the same way about Iguanus. So on that notion as well, I'm going to definitely put Iguanus in the top tier. He just barely gets himself into the top tier, but I think he's a top tier toy. The robot mode's pretty fearsome looking, and it does its best for being a Pretender robot. The vehicle mode, hands down, that's his best feature. He becomes something that is totally and truly unique. Motorcycles were not very common in the Transformers lineup. If my memory's correct, I think there was maybe a grand total of about 3 motorcycles. Motorcycles were more prevalent in the GoBots. They got the Transformers beat on that by 1. But at any rate, the motorcycle mode kind of works well here with Iguanus. As you saw earlier, he stands pretty well on it. And even when gravity does shift him a bit, it tends to keep him in a lean like he's turning. So that kind of works out. The shell here, it's okay. The belt for it is the biggest thing that seems pointless for it. Because in most other Pretenders, the belt's used to hold the shell together. In this case, it's just a decoration on the front. So it really doesn't serve any purpose whatsoever. The only real worries you got to worry about is this gold paint all over it. If you're something of a perfectionist, you're going to want to check that over to make sure it's in good shape. But if that doesn't bother you, forget it then. But at any rate, I still think he's a top tier character due to what the toys got. I mean, while he's a bit creepy with the whole being in love with the Pretender shell bit and talking to lizards, hey, he's something. He's a character, that's for sure. So this is one of the few guys that can show you how he looked back in the day totally in his box. I figured I'd send you viewers off with that sight. There we go. Iguanus in box. And that concludes my review of the Generation 1 Decepticon Terror Trooper Iguanus. If you liked the video, please leave a thumbs up here on YouTube. Don't forget as well, hit that subscribe button down below and ring the bell so you'll be notified when new videos are posted. Also, please consider leaving your thoughts of Iguanus in the comments section down below. This is Sparkster1701 saying I'll catch you all later.